More details are expected later on plans for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's wedding. Well, despite their engagement being one of the worst kept royal secrets, little's known about the big day itself. The Duchesses of Cambridge and Cornwall have both said they're thrilled for the couple.
William and I are absolutely thrilled. It's such exciting news. It's a really happy time for any couple, and we wish them all the best and hope they enjoy this happy moment. Thank you.
Absolutely thrilled. It's brilliant. And as I said, America's loss is our gain. And we're all absolutely delighted. As you can see, they're so happy. And sometimes, you know, in a climate where we're surrounded by a lot of bad news, it's a real joy to have a bit of good news for once. And as I said before, we're delighted.
Well, Meghan Markle has been described as a breath of fresh air for the monarchy. The 36-year-old actress, a gender equality campaigner, a celebrity in her own right, but she is also a divorcee.
Well, attitudes of both the church and wider society towards divorce have changed dramatically since 1936, when Edward VIII abdicated so he could marry the woman he loved. Also an American divorcee, Wallis Simpson.
It's catching. Well, while in 2005, Harry's father, Prince Charles, chose a civil ceremony for his second marriage to Camilla to avoid the potential controversy of a church ceremony. Both he and the now Duchess of Cornwall had been married before, of course.
So, is Meghan Markle's previous marriage likely to be an issue at all today?
Well, joining us now, the Reverend Sally Hitchiner, Church of England vicar, member of the Church's governing body, the General Synod. Sally, welcome.
Hello.
Nice to see you again. The feeling, I think if you did a straw poll outside here and said, is this a problem, that, you know, 99% would say probably not, I'm guessing?
Yes, and in fact 99% of people in churches would also say that, potentially even 99% of vicars. The Church of England has agreed to remarry some divorcees since 2002. The Church of England's status is that we believe marriage is for life, but we fully recognise that for some couples that doesn't work out, and we want to support people in their ongoing relationships.
We're not being a little bit easygoing here. I mean, you know, when you stand in a church and you make a sacred oath to honour and not honour and obey, to, you know, love until death, are we saying actually that it's not really a sacred oath, really?
Well, we would always want to sit down with couples and to try and make sure that they understand the level of the gravitas of what they're about to do, and that their commitment to each other is intended to be a sacred oath and intended to be for life. And I'm sure that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's will be hoping that their relationship and expecting their relationship will be for life. I think we have to acknowledge the fact that in some circumstances, things just don't work out, and for some people it's hard to blame people and say that they have no opportunity for ongoing relationships further down the line.
It's interesting, you know, isn't it? When somebody says they're going to get married and they talk about the preparations for the big day, all the focus is on dress, flowers, you know, food, photos, the band. How much emphasis do you think there is on the fact that this is a massive life change? It's a huge promise. You've got to think about your life goals and if they marry up. Do you think people these days give enough thought to that?
Well, certainly in the Church of England, as I said, vicars will always try and sit down with couples, usually even in their own home.
Do you think everybody should have to? Do you think it should be obligatory? You should have to have wedding lessons, as it were, before you sign up to it?
Yes, I really do. I think it'd be really important, whatever people's tradition is, whatever people's beliefs are, that when they're getting married, when they're making a life commitment to each other, that they have an opportunity to look at the sorts of issues that can break up relationships if they're not talked about. Communication skills, what are our views around finances, what are our views around children, how do we want to live our lives, and just to enable the couple to talk together. There's no right or wrong answers, but it's really important that couples are able to sit down and have those conversations and go into their big day knowing that they know what they're letting themselves in for, just that little bit more.
The big day, I mean, I was talking to a priest not that long ago who was saying the problem is now the big day just keeps getting bigger and bigger and more expensive, and it's more of a show. And actually what he wanted to see was people having probably more modest ceremonies and then taking seriously the humdrum reality of connubial life together. You know, there is an argument that that example is a real danger here, more than any other, because the fairy tale romance, Westminster Abbey, or wherever this ceremony is going to be, billions of people tuning in one way or another, and then, I'm not going to call it the daily grind, but the reality of married life together. They won't be changing that many nappies in the night. Or, you know, they'll be spared a lot of the drudgery. But at the end of the day, it's marriage, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that what you saw with William and Kate's wedding is that the clergy involved, Rowan Williams and the Bishop of London at the time, put a huge amount of effort into the couple. They spent some time with them, they helped them craft the prayers together, they helped them to really think about their fingerprints being all over what they did, and that's the same as would happen with any couple. At the end of the day, royal or not, this is just a man and a woman coming to make a life commitment together, and that they need to make sure that they have their priorities in order. And I heard that the average amount that people spend on weddings at the moment is above 20,000. I think that's just mind-blowing when people have mortgages and all sorts of things that they need to
on one day
put in there, and going into a married life together in debt because of your big day is absolutely
I'd
crazy.
rather think that if you were urging the royal family to perhaps go for a more modest wedding
20 grand
ceremony in
wouldn't cover it.
keeping with austere times, you might be barking up the wrong tree.
I would bet you anything that Harry and Meghan would love to have a more modest ceremony, but their public roles mean that we all want them to have the fairy tale wedding that we would love to see and be part of. And I think it's really important that we care for them as a country, and that we allow them their privacy where we can. And for those of us of faith, that we pray for them as they're going forward towards this big day. And see them as a couple, not just as our celebrity royals.
We know the Archbishop of Canterbury said that they are going to be married in a church. We don't know a huge amount about Meghan Markle and her background, but she did go to a Catholic school. I mean, if she isn't a part of the Church of England at the moment, will she have to do anything to become a part of that church in order to get married in a church?
Well, as I say, we don't really know about her beliefs, but for people who are not Church of England, that's generally not a problem. We have plenty of weddings, and I've done weddings with a Catholic and a Protestant person, and all that matters is they're able to fully participate in the service that we have, that we're wanting them to do. So with people who are not very religious or who are from a different religion, I would talk through with them, and any priest would talk through with them the service and whether they can really mean what they're being asked to say. And if they don't want to do that, there are other options. They can have a civil ceremony and even can have a blessing in church or a service of prayer and dedication. And there are plenty of options. And the trick is to get in and talk to your priest if you would like to do that early.
You're praying that this marriage works. Given the recent history of the royal family, there'll be lots of people sharing that prayer. And actually, if you look at the data, the outcomes across a range of different metrics, how your children get on in life, couples who stay married, I know this is a political hot potato, the data suggests they do better. So, they could provide an example.
They could, and I would hate for them to feel that the whole pressure of every marriage in the country rests on their shoulders. But actually what we have here is an opportunity for William and Kate, Prince William and the Duchess of Cambridge, and for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle to be able to forge a new way forward. And we've seen that in the previous examples with the royals, where Queen Victoria made a real commitment in her marriage to make a step forward in maybe the challenges that had faced previous generations. And I think what's needed is care and commitment for couples beyond the wedding day. And as I think the Duchess of Cambridge said recently, it takes a village to raise a child, and I'd say it takes a village to keep a couple together as well.
I think it was Hillary Clinton who originally said that.
Good advice.
Sally, thanks ever so much for coming in. Thanks a lot.